control last
Yep.
night. How has he matured in the way that he prepares for games?
Yeah, I think it's always been there. When you talk about the maturity aspect of things, I think like anything, once the routine happens over and over and over and over and over, and you can start to compartmentalize, what you're looking for week in and week out, you can maybe dive a little bit more down to the details, if that makes sense. And I think that's with any young player's game also, right? It starts to slow down for you a little bit. You can start to, the things that you study, the things that that we talk about throughout the week, those kind of slow down. And, I think hopefully this is the moment for him that's where it's slowed down. Every week's a different week. He's got to continue to grow, but, he puts the time in.
You talk about year 2, year 3, the light bulb starts to come on for players. You try and make their rookie year as hard as possible. How do you see that light bulb then coming on for Cole right now?
Yeah, it's funny. So when you talk about players and kind of where they're at, maybe even where they're at within the scheme they're in, when a guy looks totally in control of a down, I think that's where he's getting to, is where he's getting in control of downs. And, the different schemes that we run, the different techniques that we have, they could present versus the same look. And, I think he's just getting more comfortable in being in control of the down.
I know it's not about one player, but how do you replace Michael Hoecht, who just made such an impact?
Yeah, Hoyt's a joy to be around. He brings a tremendous amount of energy every day. Super intellectual, as I used last week, the comparison. But it's hard to replace him, but we'll have guys that'll step up. And every player's a little bit different, right? It's part of our job to figure out their skill set and where they can be best used. He's not going to be easy to replace, but this is the National Football League, and things happen. And every team deals with it, at a different rate maybe, but every team deals with it. And on the personal side, I feel terrible. He's put a lot of work in. He's been fired up, ready to go, and we'll get it figured out like we always do.
What does it say about him that he blows out his Achilles and he waves off the car, stays on the bench through the rest of that game?
It says more to everybody else about who Michael Hoecht is. That is exactly what I thought he would do. If you told me that would happen to him, his leg could fall off and he'd figure out a way to hop around. That's who he is. And I'm sure he'll come back better than ever. That's just who he is.
We were in the tunnel. How did he get off the field? You can't walk up that ramp. You can't walk up the tunnel with it.
That's a great question for Michael Hoecht. I have no idea. I'm up in the press box, so we came down, and I saw him in the locker room, So he made it there. He was there. He was celebrating with his teammates. So I have no idea. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It was crutches.
I'm sorry, I didn't figure it wasn't on TV.
Surprised he didn't crawl.
How much did it matter that Hancock and Hairston played at Carolina before making and didn't make their debuts last night?
Yeah, I don't think, it's a good question. I don't think that it necessarily has to do with your debut, right? No matter who it's against. And I think that you look at it like every game you expect them just to grow a little bit more from when they debuted on. I don't think the opponent really has anything to do with it. Every game in this league is hard. Every game presents a different challenge. And so the scope of a game that might be outside of the building, the scope here is the same week to week, and that's to do whatever we got to do to get a win that week. And that's our process. And, so where I'm going with it is no matter who we're playing, that first debut is the debut, hopefully the next game's a little bit better, the next game's better than that, and the next game, that's what we're looking for is that growth.
To disparage Dave Canales or Andy Dalton, but two young guys, rookies, Patrick Mahomes,
Yep.
Travis Kelce, just look to your left, and there's
Yep.
Andy Reid with the call sheet.
Right.
I mean, that's got to be some pretty heady stuff.
Yeah, Andy Dalton's a salty vet. Dave can call plays, No, I mean, yeah, I think the biggest thing is, and we talked about it Saturday night, is like every game is about us in the end. It's about having a great awareness of your opponent and how they may attack you, but it's all about us. Like it's about your performance, not about anybody else's performance. And then collectively, if we're focused on our individual jobs, our 1/11th, collectively, once we can add that fraction up to 11 people doing their jobs, we'll be in pretty good shape. So try to steer them away from that and just stay focused on, the task at hand.
Going back to replacing Hoecht, it seemed like after he got hurt that Javon Solomon maybe played a little bit of that role.
Yeah.
Assuming that might be part of the plans moving forward, how have you seen Solomon grow in his second year?
Yeah, I think he's just more comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, there's a confidence that can come about you, and you see it with rookies where they're not super confident. We're talking about Cole being in control of the down, and that comes with the confidence, right? Like, I've been through this. I know this. And I think, Solly for the first year, his rookie year, there was a little bit in there, not a ton of action. And, you add in the OTAs, you add in the training camp. He got some run earlier in the year, and I think his confidence is just growing to where, he's had some rushes in there that maybe haven't ended completely in a sack, which he did against Atlanta, right? So with all those little things that keep adding up, every rep, I think his confidence just continues to build, and it's, it's more on the attack than it is being part of the play, if that makes sense.
Bobby, going back to Max for a second, the interception is going to stand out probably the most on the takeaway, but I go back and think of him going stride for stride with Worthy down the sideline. You look back at that play, how important is that for just the confidence for a rookie, but then also the confidence of the defense to see one of their guys going against a really good deep threat and making a big play in that moment?
Yeah, Max is fast. He can run fast, No, I mean, I think that, like, to have that shot actually thrown at you as opposed to have it covered and maybe the ball goes somewhere else, I think all those little things add up and build confidence, And certainly I'm sure through that, because I believe that came first before his actual interception, I'm sure there's a little piece of him that's like, yeah, like, okay, and it's fun to watch him grow. It's fun to watch him grow and to see his confidence grow.
You've had so many injuries on the defensive line that I'm sure it's been challenging to really progress that group to where they're rushing together. Did it feel like last night that finally that there was a cohesiveness, the way that they were kind of working together despite, the rotations and the people that you had missing?
Yeah, I think all our D-line coaches do a great job. We've got 3 really good ones. And I think the last 2 weeks it's really come together. And I think they understand. I think we do a really good job of making sure that the rush and coverage and when it works together, we do a good job of showing that and emphasizing how important that is. If the quarterback's holding on to the ball, the coverage is getting them holding on to the ball, the rush needs to get there. And if the ball's out, we need to have good coverage and tight coverage. And I think that's a little bit of, the whole group is starting to really come together with that, and the more they play together, the more cohesiveness there will be, it's talking up front.
For the defense to be able to have a guy like Cam Lewis, who you find out late in the week that Taryn gets hurt, and I would have to think that your trust level with Cam is about as high as it can be with a backup.
Yeah. I mean, Cam wears a lot of hats for us. And he can, we can plug and play him in a lot of different roles. And really, week to week, his role might change depending on availability at other places, So the trust is high with Cam. He's tough. He's physical. And it's really important to him. It's really important to him. So really proud of what Cam did, as the week went on and things maybe changed a little bit.
Bosa has talked several times to us about just how grateful he is to be a part of this. What do you see in him and kind of the impact he's having on your defense?
Yeah, it's cool, right? Like, it's one thing to see guys have success in football, and that's why we coach, is to help them grow and to see them have success in football. But to see a locker room kind of meshing, to see guys hanging out, to see how tight-knit that locker room can be. And Joey, what's really cool is that's as important to Joey as anything. Obviously, football and playing well is very important to him and helping us win games. But I think just as important to him, and I've said it multiple times, is him being one of the guys, and it's cool to see. He's extremely happy after we win, and it's cool.
Jordan Poyer, knowing him as well as you have
Yeah.
known him for years, just what is it like seeing him? Have you learned anything about him this season as he's had kind of a unusual role and just journey with this team and coming back? Like, is there anything new you learned about him?
I don't know if I'm going to use the right words here, but I think the best way to say it is like how selfless he is, right? Like, here's a guy who had a lot of success here, right? I mean, for a lot of years. He leaves for a year on a sabbatical. He comes back, and like, he is so selfless. Like, anything we ask him to do, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Like, and here goes from a guy that was an all-pro to a guy that's kind of trying to fit into the rotation and really be a relief pitcher for the most part, up to right now. He's just a selfless human being. And I think when you talk about life, making yourself available to others and pouring into others is something that he's really embracing. He's always been that way, but he's at a different stage in his career, and he has had the success he's had for a reason. It starts with the type of person he is. So I always knew he was selfless, but he's in a role that's really saying, like, I'm selfless, and really proud of him. Really proud of him.
Ed goes down 2 weeks ago, Michael this week. Trade deadline's a day away. Do you come in this morning and go right to Brandon's office and say, hey?
Brandon does a good job. He knows we're all on the same page of potential areas of need and those type of things, and Brandon will do his job at a high level, and whatever happens. We'll make it work. We always do, and figure it out.
And aside from a potential addition or acquisition, this group right now, without those two guys for the foreseeable future, where's your level of confidence in that group?
Yeah, I mean, the level of confidence in the players and the coaches is high. As and I keep saying it, but as we always have, we'll figure it out, and we'll continue to do that. Like I said, every week is different, so things might present a little differently. We'll try to put together the best lineup and packages that we can to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance to win.
How do you feel like it's gone so far with Max and Trey splitting snaps, and do you see that as something that will continue moving
Yeah,
forward?
we'll evaluate that week to week. Trey's handled it really well, and then getting Max in, it just kind of helps him with all the time he did miss, kind of acclimate him into it. So it'll be a week to week thing, and that's the way we'll go about it.
Is it like maybe a quasi training camp situation for them? Are they competing week to week to see who is going to maybe take a lead or?
Yeah, I mean, all our players, I know this is coach talk, but everybody's always competing. We're going to put ourselves always in the best position to win. That's the name of the game. This league's about winning. And whoever's going to give us the best chance to win, that's what we're going to do.
As a rookie, and you didn't get to see that because he was on, short ramp.
Right.
But now you didn't get that chance, so.
Yeah, we'll just keep evaluating as we go along and literally take it day by day.